All right, project professionals, we're back here in the blue collar project record within NetSuite. We're just taking a look at the Plaza Mall commercial build out project. For those of you that are just joining us and haven't caught up on some of our other videos, go back and watch how we created the project and how we created the project contract, so on and so forth. Now, we're going to cover in this video just a quick billing flow. As you can see, we've got our scheduled value here for each of these line items. If you've ever done any kind of AIA style billing before, this form should look fairly familiar because basically it's just a replica of that G703 style form. And instead of making it an afterthought, something that we're going to take a look at after we create the invoice and maybe go to Excel or a PDF generator of some kind to create these things, we actually use this to create our invoices. And so if I want to go ahead and say, let's bill for 10% of this line item, I can. I can also come in here and bill for $15,000 of that line item. No big deal. You can see where my retentions are also being auto-calculated for me. If we're lucky enough to maybe have one of those contracts that says, hey, after 75% of the contract is complete, we can reduce our retentions to say 5%, something along those lines. We can definitely handle that level of flexibility. For today's sake of the argument, we'll just go ahead and leave it at 10%. We're going to go ahead and create the invoice, and let's go ahead and have it automatically generate those AIA forms for us automatically at the same time. Perfect. Now it looks like we got our invoice in the 702 and 703. I'm actually just going to open up the invoice into a new tab, and we'll look and see the 702 and 703 from there. You can see that we've got those form fields automatically stored there. If I want to pop open at that 703 style form, we definitely can, and we can see that we have the 10% and the 15,000, as well as those unbilled retention amounts. Let's go ahead and close this one out and look at the 702 style form. And it's going to have a little bit more data, of course. We're going to have the original contract value, the amount that change orders have affected the contract, and what the total contract is today to the current contract value. And then what we're billing for this time, so on and so forth. What you'll also notice is that it automatically brings in our change orders that have been approved this month versus prior months. And we've got some fillable form fields here as well that maybe are a little bit easier for us to fill out if we have an in-house notary and we know who's going to notarize this for us. So then the question becomes, well, Kurt, what happens if maybe the customer comes back to us and says, well, partner, you can't bill me for 15,000 bucks on that line item. How about you adjust it to 10,000 and resubmit? Well, with NetSuite, as long as I have the proper permissions, I'm going to be able to edit the invoice record and just come in at the line level and make that adjustment. I don't need to go through any voiding process or credit memoing process or, reversing journals or anything along those lines, or heaven forbid, would have to delete anything. But really all I did there is just went in and changed the 15,000 down to 10, and we'll go ahead and save the record. A lot of people will then ask me, well, Kurt, what about the audit trail? Is there a way that we can have visibility into who made those changes, if changes were made? The answer in NetSuite is resounding yes. You can see where we came in at 8:12 a.m. and we created the invoice. 8:13, those 702 and 703 style documents were created. And then at 8:14, we actually came in and changed the GL impact from the 29,000 to the 24,000, which are both net of retentions. And so we can look at the old GL impact and compare that versus the new GL impact and the like. Gives us great visibility into that audit trail. So now all we need to do is reprint those AIA style forms to get the latest and greatest. NetSuite's going to go through the process of aggregating those changes along with pay applications number 1 through 3, in this case, to get us those brand new copies of the 703 and 702. So let's pop those open here. 703, probably the most telling of the changes here because the 15,000 now has been reduced to 10,000, and 702 reflects similar changes. All right, now that we've kind of taken a look at that, let's go ahead and take a look at maybe how this affects our WIP report and maybe some of those unbilled retentions. Awesome. I'm actually going to scroll right down here to the bottom where we have that Plaza Mall build out. To make it a little bit easier, let's go ahead and just sort and filter this by Luke. And we've got that Plaza Mall build out now here. And if we were to come over here and look, of course, we've got those unbilled retentions now totaling the 13,050. Big part of the WIP report here is being able to have that real-time information, whether it's stuff like build to date, what our projected gross profit is, GP to date, so on and so forth, just to make sure that we're keeping those projects on track and not getting to a point where we finish the project, lost a bunch of money, and have no way to remediate it or to maybe improve those projects. Really, whip report here, all that real-time information, one-click whip report gets us to a point where we can take bad projects and make them good, and then take our good projects and make them even better because we've got time to make some changes while the project's still active instead of waiting for a whip report to be done at the end of the project when it's a little bit too late. Thanks again for joining us. This has been the billing flow for the Blue Collar Project Record. Hope to see you again next time.